Hello everyone, welcome to today's tutorial for Brand Veneer Academy. My name is Shion and I'll be taking us through on today's tutorial on the basics of CorelDRAW. That is, if you're ready to start learning CorelDRAW from the very scratch. This tutorial is not for professionals already. This tutorial is not for even intermediate. This tutorial is for those who want to learn CorelDRAW from the very basics, step by step. Okay, this tutorial is if you want is for you if you want to take the baby steps in learning CorelDRAW. That is, you want to learn from the very beginning of it. Yeah, so I'm going to take us through it today, and hopefully at the end of the tutorial you are able to learn something very meaningful, and then you'll be on your journey to be a great graphics designer with this amazing software for graphics design. All right, let's get into it. So once you open up CorelDRAW, this is your welcome screen. This comes up. I have it already opened on my computer. This is your welcome screen. It comes up. I use a Windows PC, so I'm going to be using more of Control and Alt and Shift, so just in case you're using a MacBook, you can just use the alternative key selections on your keyboard. Okay. um so the first thing you do, once you open up CorelDRAW, because we want to create. All right, CorelDRAW is for creating graphics, for creating vector shapes, vector graphics, and all of that. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is I'll click on new document. Okay, so I'm going to left click. I hope I don't get to mix it up. Left click and right click, but I'm going to left click on the new document, which is this. I already did that, and then this box comes up. All right, yeah, this box where you this box is a box where you get to input the information for the new document you want to create. Okay, so it's going to ask you for the name of the document, presets, number of pages, primary color mode, dimensions, here, there, this and that. Okay, so I'm just going to rename for the sake of this tutorial, and I think I'm going to name that let's see, let me name that CorelDRAW for beginners. Yeah, for the sake of this class, I'm thinking I should put okay, because I might need to break this down into levels. Yeah, because there are different aspects of being a beginner when you're learning CorelDRAW. So I think I'll just call this CorelDRAW for beginners level 1. All right, so next is preset. Yeah, okay, so it's gonna ask for preset. For the preset, I will strongly recommend you leave it as custom. All right, so just leave it as custom there. For these three, just ignore that, just leave that. Okay, for the number of pages, I would recommend just one. All right, let's just leave it at as one page. Okay, this is if you want to create multiple page in your document, but for this tutorial I want to create just one page. If I need to create an extra page, I will do that inside the document when I'm already working and teaching you guys. All right, so primary color mode, we have CMYK and we have RGB. CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and the K stands for black. All right, so CMYK is a 4 color. You understand? These 4 colors are what we use for printing when you want to run probably an impression on an offset machine. Okay, yeah, I know this is a bit deep. All right, that's when you want to create designs for print purposes. All right, so RGB on the other end is majorly for your screen. RGB is what you see on your screens, on your display screens. You understand? It's a combination of colors, what you see, a combination of primary colors. Okay, so RGB on this other side is what you see on your screen. For the sake of this tutorial, let's stick to CMYK. Yeah, let's stick to CMYK. All right. And then RGB, I think, is red, green, and blue. Okay, red, green, and blue, primary colors. All right. Dimensions, sizes and all of that. So page size, we're all familiar with the very popular A4 paper. You understand? So we're just going to leave it at A4. We have different kind of sizes. We have A0, A1, we have A3, we have A5, we have A4, we have A6. You understand? So many. We have legal. We have so many kind of sizes. We have custom sizes which you can just input in by yourself and all of that. So I'm just going to leave this as A4 for this tutorial. So we have measurement millimeters, but I think I'm going to drop this to inches. Okay. All right. So for A4, I'm not going to tamper with this, the width, the height, because it's already on A4. It's set to A4. All right. For the orientation, we have portrait and we have landscape. For the orientation, I'm going to set it to landscape. Uh, this is preference basically because I just want that landscape view when I'm trying to create on the canvas and all of that, while running through the very basics, the tools and all of that. Okay, for the resolution, the best resolution for printing is 300. Some get to use 600, and it comes off pretty fine, you understand? So for screen, I think the suggested resolution for screen is 72. Okay, but for the sake of this tutorial, let's leave it at 300. All right, so please do not check this dialog that which says do not show this dialog again. Just leave it unchecked. All right, always leave it unchecked because most times you will want to run through this when you are creating a new document. Okay, instead of having to do it inside of the document when it's already opened. You understand? You already have it named. All you just need to do when you start creating is to save, and then you don't need to rename it. You understand? So that's just it basically. So once I'm done with all of this, which I think you should also do and check it out. It says color settings here, but I think probably in maybe a level 2 or level 3 class, I'll go in level 2 or level 3 beginners class. I think I'll check on that. Okay. All right. So let's go into, yeah, the our document by just clicking OK, and then we just wait for it to come up. That wouldn't take long at all. So uh, let me just check on this to be sure it's still recording. All right, yeah, we're still recording and we're fine. So we don't just create a tutorial and it's not recording. All right, so I have my document here. This white part of it is a blank canvas. You can see it's blank. Okay, so we get to create on this blank surface. So today what I'm going to really be explaining is how to use these tools here in CorelDRAW. That is the tools you would need to create. When you want to create in CorelDRAW, these are the tools you will need. Okay, these are the very tools you will need. These are colors for you to pick from, and these are, you also need some tools from here. All right, from the top here, you need to learn how to save, how to so take for example, I can click on file. I want to open a new document. I want to open an already existing CorelDRAW file. Okay, I want to open from recent. Yeah, that's because I have some recent files already. I want to close all. I want to save. I want to save as. I want to export files. I want to publish to PDF. Okay, these are various ways which you can save your files. All right, so before we go to that, let us go into the tools in CorelDRAW quickly. All right, okay, so the first tool you need to get familiar with in CorelDRAW is your pick tool. Pick tool is the first tool, the very first tool at the top. The pick tool, basically simple. What the pick tool does is it helps you pick objects on your on the soft on your canvas in CorelDRAW. It helps you pick, it helps you select, it helps you move things around. That is, with your pick tool, you can move things around, you can select, you can do so many things with it actually. Okay, you can modify a bit, all right, with your pick tool. You can see that. So now let me just go into details, into more details basically. All right, so let me just quickly give this some color by just clicking, all right, and then show us one or two things quickly. All right, so now my pick tool is selected and I have this box right here. So to select this box for modification or any other thing I want to do with it, I'm going to click on the box, that is left click. All right, so if I want to move it around, all I just need to do is to click and drag. Click and drag, that is left click and drag. Don't get it wrong, left click and right click, because I still um, usually use it interchangeably sometimes. All right, so you just click and drag, click, hold it and drag, click, you hold it and drag. Okay, click, hold and drag. Basically very simple. Same thing with this. I click on it and then I click and then I hold. You see that? I drag, hold, click, hold and drag. You can see that. Very easy, nothing so difficult. Okay, so let me just zoom right in again. We're still, please note, we are still on pick tool. All right, this tutorial, like I said, is for beginners. You want to take baby steps in CorelDRAW, then this is for you. All right, so next thing I'm going to try to do now is to modify this box right here, this blue box. I want to modify it by coming to this black things here. We call this black stuff, we call them nodes. They are called nodes. Okay, and for your nodes, we always have them at the edges of your shape or of your element pictures or whatever. And then we also have the midpoint. Yeah, what we have here is the center or midpoint. Okay, we also have the midpoint. All right, so sorry, so for this we can click at the edge. Let me undo that. Just click and drag from the edge to modify. Okay, I can make it smaller, I can make it bigger. Can you see that? I can do this here, make it smaller, I can make it bigger. Can you see that? From here as well, I can make it smaller and I can make it bigger. Can you see that? From here too, I can make it smaller and I can widen that up a bit. All right, by just clicking and holding the node. Okay, these nodes right here, any of them, just to modify this shape right here. Can you see that? All right, that's it for pick tool. I can do the same thing with this circle. I can just click and drag, I can just click and drag. Okay, this is the very basic of CorelDRAW, beginner level 1. Trust me, you're going to find this very helpful. You're going to find this tool very helpful, this pick tool right here. Yeah, so now there's something about CorelDRAW. If you notice, there are these drop down arrows. Can you see that? Drop down arrows on each of the two. Okay, now what it means is that there are other tools inside of the tool, inside of the surface tool here. There are other tools. There's freehand pick here, there's free transform, but for the sake of this tutorial, because it's a very beginners class, we'll stick to pick tool. And most likely most likely you'll be using pick tool virtually all the time when you work with CorelDRAW. Okay, you'll be using pick tool most of the time. You might just need to probably not even touch the freehand pick or the free transform, because the pick tool will get to do most of your modification and movement around and selecting. Okay, to select with the pick tool, you can also click from outside of your canvas and drag like this. Can you see that? Drag and then you're able to select. If I want to select both of this object, I can just click from outside. You can see my selection going around the blue and the red. you left click rather and drag, and then you leave it. There you go. You select both, so I can move both around. Can you see that? I can move both around. Interesting. So let's move into the next tool, which is shape tool. The interesting thing about CorelDRAW is that it gives you shortcuts for some particular tools. Take for example shape tool. The shortcut for shape tool is F10, which is written there as well. You understand? So what shape tool does is that shape tool helps you to shape and modify um, object. Okay, shape and modify object basically. So now I'm going to click on shape tool. I'm going to click on this box right here, and then I'm going to try and modify it basically. So before you can start working on a particular shape with your shape tool, you need to convert it to shape by right click. You understand? You right click and then you come to convert to curves. There's also a shortcut for that, which is Control Q. Okay, convert to curves. And then now, since I've clicked convert to curves, it automatically means I want to start modifying this particular blue square with my um, shape tool. Okay, I want to start modifying this particular square with my shape tool. That's what it basically means. All right, so I'm going to modify, and when you want to modify a particular shape, you can modify from basically any part of the shape actually, but probably not at the center. Okay, so I want to modify this box. Let's say from the edge, I'm going to click and drag over here, or I can just select the edge, the node. I can basically just select it like this, like that. You can see I'm selecting any of them. I can just select any of them. So for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to select this, and then I want to modify this. Now it's already selected, and then I can just click and drag it down. That is, I left click and drag. Can you see that? Can you see? You see what I just did with that? I just modified this box into another shape. I just modified it, and with the help of the shape tool, you can create so many modifications on shapes, on objects, and all of that. So let's take it a bit further with the shape tool. Now my pick tool was automatically selected, so I'm just going to go back to shape tool. Okay, you also have to keep that in check. Always check on which tool CorelDRAW, probably maybe when you were done selecting and then you clicked out, it probably goes back to pick tool. So you always have to check it back to your shape tool. All right, so I'm going to try and modify this a step further by coming to this edge after I've selected shape tool and then click on it. Okay, I'm going to click on it this way. I'm going to click on it when I see this S curve. Can you see that? When I see this S curve at the edge, that's because I want to modify the edge, the line edge of my shape, or of the picture of the element I have on my screen right now. Okay, so I'm here and I'm going to click on this. That is right click to bring this up, and then I'm going to go to curve. All right, that's because I want to create a curve. So now from there I'm going to just click, that is left click, and drag. I can drag in, I can drag out. So let's drag in to create a beautiful slide, like a beautiful curve this way. Can you see that? Can you see that? Can you see? Basically very simple, very easy. It's nothing too difficult to do. It's very easy, you understand? So just follow the steps and then you're on your way to creating amazing graphics gradually. All right, so um, that's the basics on shape 2. So let me just bring something to our attention in the the uh, interface of this CorelDRAW. Once you select a particular tool here, the tools at the top responds to whichever tool you pick on the side here. That is, if I change now to shape tool, I can see some adjustments here automatically, which means that there are other tools inside of shape tool that I can still use to modify my shape. All right, so if I click on the next tool, which will be going into here, which is the crop tool, you will see that it's going to change as well. Can you see that? Can you see? All right, good. So let's still stick to shape tool, and let's just left click and hold to bring out other tools. Can you see we have smooth, smear tool, attract, repair, smudge, roughen, etc, etc. But I won't be going into all of this for now because they are kind of advanced tool. The very basic of the tool is shape tool. Okay, and we are still in level 1. CorelDRAW for beginners level 1. So let's just stick to shape tool for now. All right, so the next tool is crop tool. Crop tool. All right, so we can just click on that crop tool. We can crop tool is basically meant to for you to just crop out a particular part of your design or a particular part of an image or something. To use crop tool is basically very easy. All you just need to do is to click and drag that aspect you want to cut out, which I just did. That is, you right click. Let me clear that. Let me do that again. You, sorry, not right click, you left click. Left click and drag. Can you see that? And then you double click once you're done. You double click inside of your selection. Once you're done, you double click with you double click, that is left click. All right, and then it cuts out a particular portion for you. The particular portion you have decided to crop out, it just cuts it out for you. So that's what it basically does. All right, so for the sake of this tutorial, let's just leave it like this, or let's undo it. Let me undo it because I might still need this particular. So to undo is just Ctrl Z. All right, Ctrl Z to undo whatever you've done, and then you need to go back to the previous state or something. You Ctrl Z. All right, so we have knife, we have virtual segment, we have eraser. These are kind of advanced tools, so let me just leave it that way. I'm going to come back to them in other levels of beginner class. We have the zoom tool, which is the next tool. You know, I told you once you click on a particular tool, the upper tools here, the tools at the top here get to change. That is as a function of the tools that you get to click here. So now I click on zoom tool, and then you will notice some changes here as well. Can you see that? All right, so for the zoom tool basically very easy. All you just need to do with it is to zoom in, click right, left click and drag to zoom in. Left click and drag to zoom in, and then you can just right click to zoom out. You can see that it's very easy. Left click and drag to zoom in, and then right click to zoom out. That's what you need to do with that. Okay, it's nothing so complicated when it comes to zoom tool. The next tool we have under zoom tool is pan. Very interesting tool. The shortcut for zoom tool is Z, the shortcut for pan is H, but let me select pan tool. All right, for pan tool, all you just need to do is to move. You can see that. Let me select zoom tool again with the shortcut by pressing Z on my keyboard, and then let me select let me select pan tool with the shortcut by pressing H, and then I'm just able to move things around. That is, I left click and drag. Can you see that? I left click and drag things around. Can you see that? Really easy. And then I can zoom in again and zoom out by just pressing Z, the shortcut. I can zoom in and zoom out. All right, so next tool here is the free hand tool, F5. Free hand tool, a very interesting tool too. What this does is it helps you, this tool helps you create lines, create some shapes and all of that. All right, so for the sake of this tutorial, I'm really going to keep it very simple. I'm going to create a line this way. That is by clicking. Let me undo this. By I left click. You don't need to hold it down, and then you just drag. Can you see that? I just left click and drag. I mean, I don't drag, I just move my keyboard, I mean my mouse. You understand? Let me just do that again. Left click and then just move your mouse. Don't drag it. Because when you drag it, when you left click and you drag it, this is what it gives you. You can create some funny kind of looking lines. But I don't want to do that. These are just not meaningful. Okay, I'm going to try and create something meaningful. All right, so I just left click and then I move my keyboard. I don't drag. In order to create a much more perfect straight line, you press down Control on your keyboard. If you are using a Mac, just press the alternative key. I think that is Command on your MacBook. But for Windows, I press down Control and then I'm able to create this straight line. You understand? By just moving my mouse a bit and then just keep it straight, and then once I hold down Control, my line is straight, and then I left click again to release it, and then it's perfectly created with nodes at the top, at the center, and then at the bottom. All right, so the freehand tool, a fine tool for you to create lines, for you to draw lines either horizontally or vertically. You can see that it can create slant lines. Okay, you can create so many kind of lines with that, and you can still go in detail and create so many kind of things with it. Like I just created a circle, but with that you are, well, not a perfect circle actually, but you have to click and drag. Can you see that? You have to click and drag to do that. Looking at this is not perfect. Can you see? I just zoomed in. Looking at this, probably not perfect either. Look at this, overlapping on each other. Purpose of zooming, you get to see things clearly in detail. All right, so let me just pick on the freehand tool again and then just do something similar. Can you see that? This is me clicking and dragging. Probably make a signature or something. It's kind of funny. All right, can you see that? All right, so that's that about that basically. For freehand tool, I don't want to dwell too much on it for the sake of this tutorial. It's just a beginner's class, so that's that about that. The next two, artistic media tool, live sketch, smart drawing. This is the beginner's class, so let me just skip this. Artistic media tool, you really won't be needing it. I don't even really use it actually, so but for this tutorial I wanted to move fast and for you to learn the very meaningful things. Let me just move on to the next tool, which is rectangle tool. Quickly, rectangles tool was the tool I used to create this box at the very beginning of this tutorial. So to create a rectangle, all you just need to do is to click on the rectangle tool. You know, I told you once you change your tools here, the upper tools here, the tools at the top here, sorry, it gets to respond as well. So once I click on this rectangle tool, as you can see, look at it, this is changing as a function of what I already have here. I already selected here. All right, so I'm going to change this now to I've changed this now to my rectangle tool, and then I'm going to draw a rectangle. You can see by just left click and drag. Okay, let me zoom out, and then I click after I press Z to zoom out. That's why it changed to my zoom tool here. So I'm used to shortcuts basically, sorry. So I have to come back here to select my rectangle tool again and then draw a rectangle. Can you see? This is almost like a square, like a perfect square. All right, but I don't think it's perfect. To draw a perfect square, you have to hold down Control. You know, just the same way you're able to draw a perfect line when we were using freehand tool. To draw a perfect square, excuse me, to draw a perfect square with your rectangle tool, you have to hold down Control, click and drag, and then release it. Then you have a perfect square. In fact, from here you can see you have a perfect square. It says 3.866 by 3.866 on the width and the height of the object. You can see that it shows you have a perfect square. If we select our pick tool now to check on this, you will see we do not have a perfect square. This one reads 3.821 by 3.708. It's not a perfect square. It just looks like a square. It's not a perfect square. All right, in order to draw a perfect square, let me go over that again. You need to hold down Control, okay, and then click and drag. Can you see that? Once you release Control, I'm going to hold down Control now. Once you release Control, look at what it does. If you hold down Control, see what it does. If you release Control, you can see. So you have to hold down Control to create that perfect square. All right, and when you're releasing it, you release your mouse first before releasing Control, so it is perfect. All right, yeah. So on the rectangle tool, we have 3-point rectangle, but I'm just going to leave that. Let's go into the next tool, which is the ellipse tool, which I used in creating this circle at the beginning of this tutorial. So ellipse tool, let's select it. That is your circle tool, ellipse tool, and then just create something that looks like an egg. I'm not holding down Control in this case. Can you see? I'm not holding down Control. If I hold down Control, that means I want to create a perfect circle this way. Can you see that? That means I want to create a perfect circle by holding down Control. If I release Control, I get to have this. But I'm going to hold down Control to create a perfect circle, and then release my mouse first, and then release Control. And that's not perfect actually. Okay, yeah, this is perfect. You can see it states from here that this is perfect. 2.216 by 2.216. That is the object size of my circle. Okay, it's all round perfect. All right, so once I click on ellipse tool, the tools here get to change. From here as well, I can create like I think this is like a pie chart. I can create an arc, depending. You can see it's changing while I selected my tool though, while I selected my object rather. You understand? So there's a lot more other tools which I'm going to go into in probably our next tutorial, level 2 or something. You understand? I'm going to go through that. All right, so um next tool quickly is Polygon tool. Polygon tool. All right, I'm going to click and hold this. That is left click and hold. It brings out other tools for me, and you can see we have star, spiral, common shapes, impact, graph paper, so many other interesting tools. So for this, let's begin with Polygon tool quickly. I think I want to delete some of these things. I just click on my pick tool, click from outside. When you're clicking from outside to select, make sure you are clicking from a plane, that is nothing is on it. That is, you are clicking from you are clicking to drag from something that is plain on a plain board, and then you highlight everything you want to delete. I want to delete all of this right now. You highlight everything you want to select and then delete it. Can you see that? It's very simple. So okay, where was I? Okay, I think, yeah, Polygon tool. So now Polygon tool, I think we know what a polygon is, yeah. So you can probably read up more on Polygon or something. But polygons have different sides, you understand? So I'm going to try and create what it says by creating this polygon. That is, I'm just going to click and drag. I'm holding down Control to create a perfect polygon. All right, so this polygon has 6 shapes. Okay, it has, sorry, 6 sides, not 6 shape, 6 sides or 6 points. And I can increase it by clicking either up or down here. I can increase it, let's say to 7, let's say 6 is fine. Okay, sorry, let's say 6 is fine. All right, so from creating this polygon, I can modify it here, which I just did, you know, creating a five side or 6 side, 7 side. You can create many, just as much as you want, but let's leave it at 6. Okay, let's leave it at 6. What else again? Let's leave it at 6. Let me check on the other two, which says star. I want to create a star. Okay, I just hold down control, left click and drag. Okay, this is not a star. This looks funny. All right. It's not a star, but I can actually convert it to a star. You know, I told you once you click on a new tool here, the ones here automatically changes. The ones at the top here automatically adjust to a particular tool you are presently working with. So for the sake of this now, I want to convert it to a star. This has 9 points. This star here has 9 points or 9 sides. You can count. I don't want to waste time counting, but I can always drop this down. Okay. To create the perfect star, I think I need 5 sides. Yeah, 5 sides. 5 side, 5 star. All right. So you see that? That's it. To create a perfect star, I just need to adjust. I can take it up one more. I think this also looks like a star. This is 6. 7 doesn't probably look like a star to me. 8, you can take it up more. You understand, but you can also dial it in by just highlighting that and press 5 on your keyboard, and you're good to go. All right, so that's that about creating star. Let's click and hold and go into the next one. Spiral, just control click and drag, you have a spiral shape. And then for this, you can do some certain things with it. Actually, the spiral revolution, this and that, you know, you can do so many things with it actually, but I'm not going to really go into detail for spiral. I basically don't really use it, you understand. So let's go into common shapes. For the common shapes here, we have heart shape. You know, easy for you to just pull up an heart shape. That is click and drag, control click, control left click and drag. Let me do that again. Once you click on common shapes, yeah, the tools at the top here also automatically changes, and then what is highlighted by default on your CorelDRAW is heart shape. Okay, so I hold down control, I click and drag. I'm able to create a heart, and then of course red. All right, so I've been able to do that. And then if I want to create more shapes, you can see there's a drop down arrow here. It always shows that there's something more, so I click and hold it. That is left click and hold it, and then I have so many other shapes to work with. I have so many other shapes. I have this, that here, directional shapes, some arrow shapes, basic shapes, flowchart, banner shapes, call out shapes. Let's use one of these call out shapes. You can see I just clicked on one of the call out shapes there, and then I'm going to try and, can you see that? Let me give it color blue. Can you see that? To just give it a color, all you just need to do is to come over here and left click. That's all you need to do basically. So the next one, impact tool. Let me quickly go over the impact tool quickly. Impact tool, what it does is it creates some kind of starburst effect, should I call it that? You can see that. Let me just delete that and redo it again. Impact tool, it creates some kind of starburst effect. You can see that. Some kind of starburst effect. Let me just put this by the side. Let me do that again. Probably holding down control, you see, and click and drag, you have some kind of starburst effect. You know, I told you when you click on the new tool here, the ones here automatically changes, right? So you can see this has changed. You can select the kind of line style, so many things here, but those are kind of advanced a bit, so I'm not going to go into that. This is purely a beginner's class. If you want to take baby steps in CorelDRAW, this is for you. Okay, this is purely beginner's class, introduction to it, in understanding the tools. So next tool here is the graph paper. Okay, which is, you can just get to it by pressing D on your keyboard. I'm going to try and draw something now with this graph paper. You can see it's giving me 4 by 3, 4 on the rows and columns. You can see that this is, maybe you want to create some graph sheet, you want to create some rows and columns of boxes, you can work with this. All right, so that's it about graph paper. Let's go to the one of the most interesting tool, text tool. I think we also have something similar to graph paper under text tool, which is table tool, but let's stick to text tool, F8. Text tool, basically simple, used for typing. So you click on it, you left click, and then you start typing. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to just type in tutorial on my keyboard. Once I'm done, I click on pick tool, okay, and then I can change the font here. Okay, I have so many fonts already installed on my keyboard. Let's pick this font. I think I like it because it's bold. I just zoomed in there. It's bold, it's simple. Yeah, I can give it a color. Let's say green, let's say light blue, let's say white, let's say orange. You know, can give it. I'm going to zoom out now, press Z and zoom out. I'm going to just click and drag that into this place. I want it on a white surface. All right, can you see that? So these are beginner step, you understand? So you most likely have to install a lot of font on your computer, you understand? Once you install font on your computer, by default it appears in CorelDRAW by default automatically. Okay, so here you go with the Moschino font. Let me just leave that here. I don't want to do anything too complex so as not to confuse you, because this is still very much a beginner's class. All right, so table tool, very similar to what graph does. You just click and drag, and then you can see that very similar, and I think I've explained that initially, so let me just delete this. I'm not going to go over that. Okay, parallel dimension tool, I basically don't really use it, so I'm just going to skip. Connector tool, I'm going to skip. Those are kind of advanced tools, so this is a beginner's class. Excuse me. Shadow tool, I think we want to use this. Let's click and hold. We have shadow, we have contour, blend, distort, envelope, extrude, block shadow. Let's go to shadow. This is a beginner's class. I'm just going to keep it simple, although these are like level 3 advanced, some advanced tools, you understand, to create effect. So I want to give this text a shadow effect. I'm just going to click on shadow here. I told you, whenever you click on a tool here, it automatically changes here. If I click on this, you can see it changes here, and I'm going to go back to my, by the way, let's return this back to our text tool. Just click and hold, and then so we can have our text tool as the default. So so we're not confused when we're looking for it actually. So I'm going to click on the shadow tool here, and then I'm going to come here, click on my text. From the top, I'm going to left click and drag, that is, hold it. You can see it's going to create like a line, like an outline, and then I'm just going to hold it, and then I'm going to release it. That way you can see I have a shadow. Let me zoom in more for you can see that I have a shadow. You can see that I can adjust my shadow settings here. These are advanced tools. I'm going to go into that in probably other advanced classes, where you can see. So what I can then do right now is let me just show you what it looks like. This is the before shadow, this is the after the shadow, this is before, this is after, this is before, this is after, this is before, and this is after. You can see that just by creating shadow. All right, so let's go into the next tool, transparency tool. Let me just quickly treat the basics of transparency tool. Let me select this circle here and select transparency. Okay, and then for transparency tool, I'm just going to select uniform here, uniform transparency. What it does is it fades in any object I've selected. It fades in my object. You can see this is faded already, and I can adjust it from here. Okay, and then, or I just have a fountain transparency, and then I click on my linear transparency. You can see I had so many different kind of effects though. You can click on this, although it's all gone, but to have your shape still visible, linear transparency. So from fountain transparency, you can either select linear here, you can select elliptical, you can see that, you can select conical, you can select I think the last one is rectangular. Yeah, so I think I like to use the um, elliptical fountain transparency, and then the linear majorly, which is this. All right, so it's basically very simple, nothing so complicated and all of that. We have the eyedropper, we have the interactive fill tool. These are advanced tools I'm going to treat in our upcoming classes. Okay, I hope you've been able to learn something from this CorelDRAW beginner level 1 tutorial. I hope it has been helpful, and then please check the description below for CorelDRAW for beginner level 2 and 3. Okay, and possibly maybe 4 or 5. I hope so, but definitely CorelDRAW for beginner level 1. This is it, and then for the next class we should be having CorelDRAW for beginners level 2. All right, so but before I close down this tutorial, let me teach us how to save. You come to file, we're going to save this. You remember we already named it, so we're going to save, that is Ctrl S, or just click on save here, and then look at, it's going to automatically save in your document on your PC, and then you're going to leave it as CorelDRAW. It has some other details here. These are advanced way of saving, but just keep it simple. CorelDRAW for beginners level 1. That's the file name. You can rename it to whatever name you want to rename it as here, but I'm just going to save by coming here. You see, these are advanced. I can click on advanced maybe for other advanced way to save, but I don't need that right now. I'm just going to keep it simple for a beginner's class, and then just click on save here. Save. That's it basically. So our file has been saved. You can see the save the active document has gone faint. That is, our file has been saved. Or easily you just press Ctrl S on your keyboard on Windows, or Command S on your Mac. It's basically very simple. So we've saved this file, and we can always come back to it. I'll see you in the next video. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notification button for other videos that will be coming up. Thank you very much, and I hope you've been able to learn something new on your path to becoming a professional graphics designer using CorelDRAW. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next video.